September has arrived, which can only mean one thing here in the Yamaha Whitetail Diaries. Wade and the crew are on the road to meet up with the guys from Yamaha in Kentucky for what has become an annual trip to start deer season. Now, in this episode, we'll be looking behind the scenes at all the preparation that goes into making this week as special as it is.
Kentucky has become a destination that's preferred for us to kick off our hunting season, for me, the last 6 years now. And for decades, I always started my hunting season this time of the year, but it was dove hunting. We would dove hunt, whether it's in Oklahoma or Texas, but I had an opportunity, like I said, about 6 years ago to come to Kentucky and experience a velvet hunt, and I have just fallen in love with it, and then we're excited to be here.
Hunting in Kentucky, it's such a beautiful area to be out in Kentucky as it is. I mean, just these rolling green grasses and all the beautiful horse farms all around us. And actually lived here not too long ago and just good to be back, good people out here. But the most exciting thing of all is they have big bucks out here. I mean, I think everything that you see is just good quality, great healthy deer, and thankfully all the properties we have the opportunity to take something on are all phenomenal, trophy bucks in my opinion. So when I get to see them in velvet, that's just all the more excitement.
Kentucky's actually special, not because it's the first hunt of the year, not because the deer are mostly in velvet, but it's really kind of special for me personally, and dare I say, through me all the way through the Carico crew, because of what the approach we've taken here, which is we've propped up a camp in the middle of a property of a ranch, and obviously we have a job to do aside from hunting. We're filming the hunting and we're filming the camp life and trying to give the viewer a feel of what it's like to be here, and they can live vicariously through us. But just how this has evolved over time, I have never stayed in the lodge myself, but to get separate from that, to be able to do what we've done, to set up a camp, to spend the day shooting our bows, going out and checking stands, cameras, dropping vehicles, scouting how we're going to get vehicles in and out, just the game plan itself. It's been fun to watch it evolve. It's been fun, and I feel blessed to have been a part of how we've sort of scripted this thing out and had success along the way, myself included, had some really good success. So if you haven't been to Kentucky, if you hadn't hunted early season and you find yourself with an opportunity, see what you can do about taking advantage of it, because I think you'd come away with the same impression that it really is just something a little more different and special and unique than maybe anything else you've ever done. I mean, we have Josh in camp this year. He's been here for like 4 minutes, and he keeps talking about how cool it is and peaceful and yet still convenient, and the animals, and Kentucky's a really cool, special place.
So I'm from Minnesota, and I hunt a lot of Minnesota and Wisconsin archery openers, but with the timing up there, the odds of running into a velvet whitetail are pretty much slim to none. Only one time in my 24 years of deer hunting up there have I had a chance at a velvet whitetail, and unfortunately I screwed it up. So this is my first crack at a velvet whitetail. I've shot some velvet muleys, but seeing those deer in velvet, it's a spectacle. I mean, they're cool enough hardhorned, but when they're stacked with that velvet, even if it's starting to strip off, it's a sight. So I've wanted to come down here and do this velvet hunt for a long time, come down south, kick off my season even earlier than I can at home. There's a lot more rolling country around here, where at home it's either flat or it's big bluff country and ravines. And so really excited to get out there.
When we return, we'll learn more about our friends we hunt with at Salt River Outfitters and about hunting Kentucky whitetails in the early season.
Salt River Outfitters, which is run by George Cummings, they're tied into the WTA group for booking hunts, and all the guides here. These guys understand what they're doing here. They understand the patterns. They work really, really hard at it in the off season to get everything ready. They really understand winds and thermals and how that impacts their different areas that they're hunting. And when you hunt here, I mean, their velvet hunt is, you're pretty much not going to be a guy that gets in on this opening weekend, because there's so many people coming back to this hunt. It's like a family reunion when you come here opening weekend.
We started out with one farm, 1,200 acres, which is this is the farm we started out with. Now we're at about 20,000 acres in 8 different counties. So we've grown a lot. Growing our family, that's what I tell everybody. This family reunion, that's this week. I look all year to this one particular week, because it's the most fun out of the whole season. So.
This part of Kentucky produces deer all year long. Because we developed such a great relationship with George and his guys, I follow a lot of them on Facebook. George and I text a lot. We talk a little bit about deer strategy. He's become enamored hunting in Texas like I've become enamored hunting over here in Kentucky. And you know, I mean, they're taking deer with bows and rifles and muzzle loaders all year long in these Kentucky hills. And it's a testament to the conditions in this part of the world, the quality of the deer, but also to the hard work and the ability for their team to stay on top of the deer.
The thing that I think makes this part of the world so special is that we have such a diverse habitat. We've got a lot of woods, a lot of crops, you know, we got a lot of these rolling hills that honestly, the deer like to stay down in these low spots in the early summer months, which that wind just sets in there and swirls. So I think that's why we have so many big deer. Even though we have the habitat, they can be hard to kill in this early season because when it's hot and those deer like to stay down in those low spots, you know, it just sets down in there and swirls. So it's just it's a very diverse landscape we have. You know, we have hills, we have the river bottoms, but then you can leave the same farm, drive a mile up the road, and you've got these rolling hills and oak trees. I mean, think about all the oak trees back there. I mean, everything's oaks, so the deer love the oaks. A lot of clover. You know, you driving around in our pasture fields, you'll see a lot of native clover. So we've just got great habitat all the way around. We've got food, we've got bedding, you know, we've got travel corridors where these deer can kind of sneak around, make them a little bit harder to kill. That's why we got so many big ones.
As the crew continues getting things ready for the Kentucky opener, let's get a closer look at the base camp the guys have set up this year.
So our setup here is, we've done several different things. We've camped out in tents when we've been here. We've stayed in little cabins. We've stayed at the lodge. The last couple of years, we've hauled in big campers and set up a large, you know, almost our own camp right here that we can base out of because we can get a lot of content. We can do a lot of field testing here. We'll bring in new side-by-sides. We're gonna bring in new bows, new sights, new camo, new items, and we can get in here and do a lot of work, which is really unique because we'll be able to turn this content very fast for people to be able to look at and make buying decisions this time of the year, you know, for their later hunts for people that seasons haven't opened this much.
One such product we field tested this year is the Cabela's Tabletop Propane Grill. You see, this propane grill is a great choice for grilling at campsites anywhere, anytime. This portable gas grill design is built to go on the road and helps deliver delicious food anywhere. Pair this with your food and a variety of seasonings from Cabela's, and you'll be serving some delicious food after a long day in the field. Learn more at your local Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, whether in the store or by going online. Now, as we mentioned earlier, Scott and Steve from Yamaha join us in Kentucky, and they bring with them their proven off-road ATVs and side-by-sides to field test and hopefully haul back a big old velvet whitetail.
This year we have a collection of RMAX units. Again, in Kentucky, I think we've got an RMAX Tord, an RMAX Sport, which is our cool Yamaha racing color blue. Now, racing blue, hunting, you know, people might ask, but we're not sitting next to the units while we hunt, right? It's a high-performing vehicle. It's got the dumping cargo bed on it still, so it's got a lot of versatility.
The great thing about the Sport model is that it's really versatile when it comes to suspension. The suspension on the RMAX 2000 Sport just has so much more adjustability to it compared to our other models. The great thing about the XTR or the R-Spec or even the LEs is all just a three-way, so you have soft, comfort, and firm. Well, the Sport model, you have it to where you can adjust it in many different ways, which means you get that finer touch to it. So it's someone that's a real enthusiast for riding, really wants to dial in their suspension, they can do that with the Sport model. And of course, the great thing is you can still hunt out of it.
You know, just trying to represent the entire product lineup and how it does fit this passion-based lifestyle. That, you know, people that love to do what they do alongside side-by-side and ATVs, whether it's hunting or just trail riding, we've got the most durable and reliable product for them to be using when they do that.
So a big thing coming into any hunt, you want to make sure your gear is ready. You want to make sure it's good to go, because the last thing you want to have is being out in the field and having a bad experience, having something go wrong, and you not being prepared going into it. Of course, one of those things too is your vehicle when you're going out in the field. Whether it's an ATV or a side-by-side, there's a lot of basic things you can go over just to make sure that you're good and you're ready to ride. That really just comes down to your basic maintenance. Do a standard oil change before you head out. If your vehicle's been sitting over the winter, something like that at all, you just want to make sure you have it nice, fresh, topped off. You're going over all your fluid levels and everything there too. Make sure you clean out your air filter. There's nothing clogged in there, nothing kind of getting in the way. Also check your tire pressure. If you don't know what your tire pressure needs to be or what you want it to be at, just look in your owner's manual. It has all the information in there that you can find and all that you need. Another thing too is just checking out your lug nuts, checking to make sure they're all tight, they're all good to go. A lot of times just from regular riding, that stuff can loosen up on you as well. And one of the big ones that always seem to catch people too is your battery. Make sure your battery level isn't dead either. Even before you put it in storage before wintertime, put a trickle charger on it. That way you know when you're going back out again next year, it's ready to go, you're ready to ride. A few things to take into consideration when you're riding your ATV or driving your side-by-side. First and foremost, wear all your safety gear at all times. Wear your seatbelt at all times as well. That includes all your passengers in the vehicle too. When you are driving your side-by-side, we definitely recommend thumbs up driving too. You'll see two little pads on each side of the steering wheel that are up at the top. Rest your thumbs up on those pads. If you get into a situation where that steering wheel could turn really quickly, thankfully all of our vehicles now have electric power steering on them, but a lot of times they could spin real quick, and you just want to make sure you have a good grip on the steering wheel and your thumbs are up. Keep all your hands and feet and everything in the vehicle there as well. Make sure the passengers are aware of that too. On the passenger sides and even in the rear, you can see we have handholds for everyone too. Just make sure their handholds are on those spots the entire time while you are riding. A tip when it comes to ATV riding, have your hands on the handlebars at all times, but even have your weight kind of in the center of the vehicle. I always recommend that you kind of keep your chin in line with the handlebars there too. If you're ever climbing a hill or anything like that at all, look at proper body language. Take that in consideration when we are riding on the trail. The thing I will say though too is there are great resources online that go into depth on all this information. I highly recommend you take their free online courses. You can find the ATV safety training online. For the side-by-sides, it's ROVA, the Recreational Off-Highway Vehicle Association. All these have online tests. They go through everything, all the tips, all the tricks and everything to take into consideration. If you want to go next step, next level from there, they offer in-person training and everything too. So you can have a certified trainer that goes over everything with your vehicle, everything it needs to do. Or if you do have any questions further about that, you can check it all out on our website as well at YamahaOutdoors.com.
When we return, we'll take a detailed look at all the planning that happens to get us ready for the Kentucky whitetail season. Well, as we wrap up this episode in anticipation of heading out into the field, there's a lot of planning that goes into a big hunt like this.
The planning begins in earnest, probably about late May. We start talking to some of the manufacturers about new product that's coming out. I start gearing up a new bow. I start rigging it in the shop. I start working on arrows. I start shooting. We're starting to, work on stands, get items ready, and communicating back with George and his guides about what they're seeing and how the conditions are. It's amazing to me how many comments I get about how hot it is to come hunting this year, whether it's on social media or friends finding out I'm leaving on a deer hunt this time of the year. Yes, it's hot. I mean, it's not uncommon much. In any place we hunt in early season, it's generally hot. But the predictability of whitetail deer during the hot times of the year, to me, oftentimes will make them more patternable, make them easier for you to hunt. Now, if you're not seeing deer in an area, there's no need to go randomly hunt there like you can, say, in the rut, where you can get deer trolling through at any time of the day. These types of hunts, I think, are best done in the late evening in places that you've got scouting camera or visual scouting clues that there are deer in an area in daylight hours.
Hunting in the evening is frustrating. But I know why we do it. I say it's frustrating because we sit around the majority of the day and we just wait. But we make good use of that time. We make sure we've got our game plan for the evening. We go over it probably 150 to 4,000 times. But even during the course of that, we shoot our bows. Hopefully we gain confidence with that. Sometimes it goes backwards, we work through it. But overall, it's a good time in camp. And the evening time, again, early season, the reasons behind it are valid, and we for sure understand, but it is unique. It is definitely unique to not have to get up early, to know that you have the whole day to figure out what to do until you make that plan or have that time in mind for when you're gonna head to stand.
So this year we've seen the cell cams. There's still some out there that have decent amount of velvet on them. A lot of them actually losing. They'll probably be gone the next week or two from what Wade was saying, but it's really interesting for me to kind of pick Wade's brain and just hear he has all these different stands set up really just based upon what the wind does and what the sun's doing at that time. So it's really intriguing to kind of see his perspective on things. Of course, that changes by the moment. That's also the difficult thing, is you could have everything set up for that one specific stand that you're going to, and all of a sudden the weather changes, the wind changes, and you have to go to a completely different spot, or all of a sudden it starts raining, and so you have to change things again. So that just being able to kind of move and adjust on the cuff is really fun, but just the fact that we have many opportunities is great too.
I tell all of my guys, when we set a stand up, you have to put everything in your favor. And what I mean by that is if you can get the deer to come to a spot to where you can play the wind and you're absolutely sure these deer cannot circle downwind of you, in early season, you're just, you're setting yourself up for success. So we try to set our stands up to where your scent's gonna be blowing into a wide open pasture that the deer shouldn't be in, or blowing across the river. A lot of times in these river bottoms, I try to set my stands up and hunt with wind blowing across that river so the deer can't really get in the river and get downwind of you. Or a pond, I love hunting against ponds, having your scent blow over that. So that's the reason why we're so successful. I mean, you can't argue with these results.
While we have many success stories of deer being harvested in Kentucky, the guys have also walked away eating their tag at times. From Steve moving too soon to Scott's giant turning right instead of left.
Had this nice big buck that came out right in front, never gave a shot at all.
To Wade's 6-year-long journey.
For me, the personal journey in hunting in Kentucky goes back 6 years. And the first year we climbed up in a tree, I mean, literally 15 minutes in, we almost could have killed this giant 8-point, but I could see it and the camera couldn't. And then when it finally got out there in a perfect place for everybody to see, it was 30, 40 yards away looking right at me. I've told the story many times. I didn't feel comfortable with the shot, trying to get draw without busting him, and I didn't take the shot. Looking back on it, that was exactly what was supposed to happen, because probably if I'd have shot that deer and not hung out and spent all the time with George and his guys and everybody in the camp, we wouldn't have built this what's really like a family relationship now to come back. It just wouldn't have happened. And so because we didn't kill a deer that year and we hunted hard, several different stands, different situations, we went home empty-handed, and then we got to meet everybody and we started working on future plans to come back time and time again. As I look at the second and third year of our journey over here, like a lot of deer hunters, it's easy to get hung up hunting one deer. And I tell you, if you want to shoot a velvet deer, don't get hung up hunting one deer, because there's so many other things that can go on. And I learned that lesson the second year. So when we got to camp and started looking at our scouting cameras and got everything set up, I really fell in love with this giant 10-point that came out of velvet. He became hard antlered, and I was like, man, I love that deer. He's only nocturnal. We never saw him. I mean, a million different things. And I went home once again empty-handed. We never saw that deer. And that was year 2. I passed several young bucks and bucks that would have fulfilled my dream of shooting a velvet buck, but I went home empty-handed. So when we fast forward to year 3, we changed where we were staying. We had some new stands set up. Steve was in camp with us and he shot a beauty. Morale was high and they'd seen several more. So I went to that stand the next night and lo and behold, here comes a giant hen. And made a bad shot. I shot way too soon. I shot low. We looked for the deer. The deer lived. I mean, they saw it on camera. Somebody else actually harvested it later on. So as I got to year 4, this had become a quest for me to kill a big velvet deer. And we were hunting and, we weren't seeing anything over here. George's team was working so hard to try to stay on top of deer. There were deer hitting the ground. I was like, man, I'm just not supposed to kill a deer in Kentucky. And I'm talking to George about some stands. He goes, man, guy didn't get it done in this stand, he's gone, and this big deer has been coming in there. Why don't you slide over there? So we went and hung a camera stand, Michael and I did, with one of the guides, Joey, and got it all set up, and we're sitting there, and it's hot. It's hot. Soybeans are weaving, and we're seeing a few deer, and all of a sudden, here comes this monster. We've used this footage so many times. He's coming across the soybeans, he's flicking his ears, flies are buzzing, and he comes in on a string, and he wouldn't give me a shot for like what seemed like 5 hours. Sweat's pouring off of him. Michael won't even change the shot. He's so nervous. I finally get drawn, shoot, get him. Exhilaration, and then I just wanted to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And here we are, fast forward, we've come back. I've shot another big deer in velvet. I am just enamored with this style of hunting and everything that it brings.
Stay tuned for upcoming episodes where the guys head out on opening day in Kentucky for an action-packed hunt you won't want to miss.